So here we have in front of us the new 8BitDo wireless mod kit for the Gamecube controller. We have the retro receiver for that mod kit, and then we have an original Spice Orange Gamecube controller that we modded with the kit. So what we're going to do is we're going to check out the features, we're going to do an unboxing, we'll install the mod kit together, and then at the end we'll hook it up, see how it works, and I'll give you my thoughts. Let's go. So what is this mod? It's a board swap for an original Gamecube controller that transforms it into a modern Bluetooth controller. And it does that retaining the externals of a Gamecube controller that we all know and love. As for specs, they're claiming about 6 hours of battery life with a rechargeable battery. And we can pair it with the retro receiver that we're also checking out to receive the signal and use it like you would a Wavebird controller. All right, so let's just check out a quick little unboxing of these guys. Here we have the receiver. Okay, oh, so it comes with a tiny little USB-C to USB-A cable here. And wow, this is actually surprisingly small. That's kind of my first reaction to this, is I'm kind of comparing it to like one of the original like Wavebird receivers, and this is just like very tiny. Got the box cutter. Let's see, so we have some instructions here. Looks like we have the mod itself, and we have the Hall joystick there, which is pretty cool. The battery, which is really tiny. And then here we have the actual joysticks themselves. And this is something I'm pretty curious about because, you know, this does feel like a little bit different maybe than like a stock Gamecube one, but overall, like I think it feels pretty good. I like the sort of rubberized grip on them. And then we also have a little barrel jack and a USB-A. And now let's look at the actual components of like the PCB. Here we have the PCB itself. Looks really nice. Oh, interesting. I mean, I don't look at joysticks much, but it's kind of interesting that there are like little rubber bands in there if you look carefully. Looks like here we have that for the C-stick. And then this little guy, I'm not sure what this is, but this will all come together later, I'm sure. Okay, so here I have the controller that I'm looking to do the mod on. It's this beautiful Spice Orange controller that I've had for a while, and for some reason the main joystick actually has stopped working, so this is really convenient because this mod actually replaces the joysticks. I'm going to try to use the actual paper instructions rather than looking up a video online, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to start, it looks like, by undoing the screws on the back of the controller. Huh, you know, interesting. It looks like this one screw here is actually a Phillips. So that's funny. I guess this controller must have been opened some other time and maybe used a different screw because they lost one. Okay, so we're going to open her up. Nice. Just like that. Nice. Okay, easy enough. So it looks like the first step after we take everything apart is to pop in this PCB over the existing shell. But I think before we do that, looks like we need to actually attach the joysticks. Cool, so I think that looks like it's on there just fine, feels really good. So next, okay, so now that we've attached the joysticks, looks like we actually can pop them in. Wow, so that dropped in really nice and smoothly. So first point of confusion here right now is that I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get these, make room for these cables here. So what I might do is try plugging this in first. So I'm not loving how tight this is here with these cables, but looks like this is probably the best we can do. And so it looks like the next step is now to detach the rumble and reattach it to the new controller. Okay, so here is the original PCB with the rumble that it looks like we're trying to take out. So it looks like we slide this guy out. And then we're just going to snip it. This feels super wrong, I'm not gonna lie to you, but let's do it. Okay, so here is the original rumble. So I think first we're gonna need to strip these back a little bit. And these are tiny wires, so I hope I have a wire stripper that can do that. No. It seems like if you're just careful enough, you can kind of just pull the rubber back. Okay, there we go. So that actually wasn't as hard as I feared it would be. All right, so now we have the original rumble motor, and it's time to attach to the new wires. Okay, so after doing a little bit of research, it looks like the polarity actually doesn't matter because it's a DC motor, but just to try to keep things consistent, I'm going to try to do hot to hot. And just to keep things extra janky, I'm going to try using a lighter for this. Just a quick note here from future me, I would just make sure that these wires for the rumble motor are really well connected because it didn't work for me the first time and I had to open it back up. All right, so a little janky, but that should do the job, hopefully. Okay, so now what I'm seeing is it looks like we need to pop this assembly off. So it looks like we need to, detach this guy. All right, that was easy enough. Cool, so we're gonna pop these in there. Easy enough. Okay, so these wires fit in these little slots here. Of course, it's quite difficult to actually get them in. Okay, so after quite a bit of fiddling, it looks like I finally seated this correctly. It can be a little fiddly, but I think with a little bit of determination, you can make it work. So now that we've done that, looks like we need to put in the rumble motor. All right, so I would recommend holding it like this. You can kind of clamp down the rumble motor, and then that makes room for your hand to pop in the connector here. I'm gonna try to reseat the C-stick for like the millionth time. This is rough. So here I just recommend pushing the shoulder sliders all the way outwards and then tucking in the wires because this will help when it comes time to put the shell back on. Okay, so I have a handy little pointy thing and looks like this has, I don't know exactly what those are called, but these little little joints here that lock in the membrane. So we're gonna put it right in there. I think that's in enough. So let's see, and we can just push this right down. Boom, just like that. And I think we can slide it right like this. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I can try putting this back on, see how it looks. Okay, there we go. Get this guy in there. So yeah, I think this is looking great. I mean, one thing that I am noticing right now though is I think, all the buttons feel really great. I think the start button feels just a little bit loose to me, but I mean, still totally usable and you barely press it at all. So I think that's fine. Cool, okay, right now, so I just grabbed one of my original Wavebirds, and now we also have this guy, which is kind of a Wavebird too. So let's just see how the knobs feel in comparison. These feel maybe a tad springier, but I mean, overall, like, they feel pretty much the same. I think another thing that I'm noticing is just that the rubberization is a little bit different. This feels a little bit softer and this feels a little bit crisper, but some of that might just have to do with how old this was. Like I have no idea what this would have felt like, when it was first produced, whenever that was. So yeah, overall really impressed. I think it feels really good and I'm super stoked. All right, so now all that's left to do is boot it up and see how it works. And I hope it actually does. So let's see. So it looks like first thing we have to do is we have to put the receiver in pairing mode. So let's try that. All right, so now we can see the blue light is flashing. So I think we can try to do the same thing on the controller. All right, so they're both flashing. And so in theory, they should be syncing pretty soon. Oh, let's go. I think it's synced. All right, moment of truth. It works. It lives. It lives. Let's go. Okay, so let's try actually playing a game. The question is, what game should we play? I'm going to say you certainly can't go wrong with playing some Monkey Ball, so let's try it out. All right, I'm gonna be Mimi. Let's just do some stages on advanced. Let's try it out. Yeah, I think this is feeling great. Like, I feel like we're sort of moving as you would expect on the controller. You can kind of see, I mean, it's probably hard to get through the video, but this feels like it feels when you're using a regular GameCube controller, which is awesome, but it's kind of trippy because nothing is plugged in. But yeah, no, the joysticks are working just as you'd expect, which is really awesome. So let's go. So it's nighttime now, but I realized that I forgot to test one key thing, and that's the analog function of the triggers. And so you can see here, I'm happy to say that it looks like this is functioning as you'd expect, where in Smash you have the half shield upon a light press and the full shield upon a full press, and it seems to be modulating basically as you'd expect. So what do I think about this mod? It honestly just puts a smile on my face. It's so cool to have an original GameCube controller modified to be wireless. And there are a bunch of things I love about it. First off, the fact that it has rumble is really great when you compare it to, say, a Wavebird controller, which does not have rumble. I like how it's not destructive and you could revert the GameCube controller, especially as these are becoming more rare. It's nice that we're not kind of destroying original GameCube controllers that are becoming more finite. I like how it doesn't require tools. That's a really nice touch from 8BitDo. Another thing that I really like is how it replaces the joysticks, which on a lot of these controllers are already super worn out anyway, so it just comes with that as an added benefit. Another thing is that these are actually upgraded joysticks because they have Hall sensors, so they're going to be more reliable, and they also actually click like modern controllers, so when you're using it with a different system, they're actually more usable. And that brings me to another benefit of this, which is that you can use it with additional systems because it uses Bluetooth, which is really cool. I think if I had to think of a con, like, the most notable thing would just be that it uses a barrel jack. That could just be annoying if you lose the adapter. But on the other hand, I see why 8BitDo chose that, and that really is how they managed to make the controller non-destructive. So to that end, I think it was a really clever choice, but a little bit annoying because you could lose it and you'd have to find a way to scrounge up another one of these tiny little barrel jacks. And then lastly, you could potentially say that the Bluetooth would be a con because it might introduce a really negligible amount of latency, but if you're not super hardcore, then I don't think that's a concern. So overall, really love this. And hey, if you like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would love to hear if you picked one of these up, and feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. What do you think about that?